Your client onboarding experience is the most important element of the whole customer journey because it sets the tone from day one and shows them that you're a premium coach delivering excellent value. Now, get this wrong and they'll regret paying you, but get this right and they'll trust everything that you do next. So today I'm going to show you how to build out a Notion onboarding page that gives your clients an amazing first impression and lets them know exactly what's going to happen next. If we haven't met yet, I'm Henry and I build systems and automations for coaches to help them spend more time coaching and less time on admin. So let's dive into this Notion onboarding and I'll show you how to do this step by step. So this is what you're going to need. So you're going to open up Notion and you're going to create your own client onboarding page like this. First couple of things to do is to give it a title. So in this case, I'm just going to call this the client onboarding page. You could call this the welcome page, the members hub, whatever you want to call it, essentially. So that's the main title for the page. Next up, just going to create a little icon. So in this case, just going to give it a little wave emoji. So it's kind of like, hey, welcome to the program, welcome on board. We then want to give it a cover, and that just makes it really professional, makes it look like it's not just like a generic Google Doc, but it actually brands up the page for us. And upload, what I'm going to do is just upload a little banner like this, so then it uploads it and creates a nice professional banner image at the top. Okay, now you can give this anything you want. You could have a picture of you with a quote from another client. It could be a brief message from you in text form, whatever you want, essentially, on that top there. Now, on your onboarding page, there's a few things you're going to want. You're going to want, first of all, a welcome video from you, so that on the initial impression, they go, wow, it looks really professional. And there's a video from you straight away explaining what happens next. So they're not really stuck or unsure about what happens next. It's really, really clear what the next steps are and what you need to do next. Now, step one is to make sure you've got a welcome video from you. So your clients are really clear what happens next. Now, what I recommend doing is creating what are called call out blocks. So rather than just having a list of text and embedded videos, you have these neat blocks embedded. So it's really clear what each section is and what goes in that section. So if you just hit the / key and type in call out, it will give it this nice neat box, which you can kind of color code and also give it a sort of icon as well. And what you want to do is just call this welcome video from your name. In this case, welcome video from Henry. In this case, we could just put a little recording icon here, whatever you want to do essentially. And inside of that call out block then, just make sure you're holding shift when you scroll down. So it does this and it means you can add more detail here. Another thing you could do is go onto this and make it slightly bigger. So you could turn that into sort of a heading 3 and that would make it slightly larger. Next up then, we're going to add our video in. Now the cool thing with Notion is we can embed videos directly into it. I've used for my own page here just a Loom recording, but you can use YouTube videos, you can use Vimeo videos, Wistia videos, wherever you've got them hosted essentially. Okay, now next up what we want to do is we want to copy this link into this place here and we want to embed the Loom. So we don't just want to have a mention because that will just come up as a link. Same with the URL, same with the bookmark, it will just be like a link that will take them out of this page. So we click embed, that shows up as soon as they land on the page. So we've got a nice branded heading section, we've got our title, we've got a little wave emoji, we've got a title for the subsection welcome video and the video. Now in the video, the type of content you'd want to include is basically just going to mirror what's on the rest of the page. So it's a bit like a landing page for a sales page where you've got a VSL at the top that basically explains what is also on the page in sort of short format, but it just makes it more personal and much more professional. When it comes to the video, just make sure that it is high quality, that you use a good quality mic as well so that the audio is good. Record it on a good quality camera, not just on your phone ideally, and it just sets a really good tone. So as I said, that could either be Loom, it could be YouTube, it could be Vimeo, whichever format you want to upload it in, but it's really simple to embed any of those inside of Notion. Now, if you wanted to change the color of this call out block here, you click the little dots here, change the color. Let's say that your branding is mainly orange, then we can turn that into an orange block as well. So we could reflect our branding on the page by changing the colors. I'm just going to keep this in gray for now. You could also change just the color of this welcome video to kind of like highlight it at the top, and then the rest can just be a kind of gray color. So maybe we'll play around with that in just a second. So that's step one. Now, if you wanted to, you could also put 1 welcome video, 2 intake form, and so on to make it really clear what happens next. So now we've got a welcome video. We're now going to create another call out block. And this call out block is going to be our intake form. So it's really important that you then collect all the information that you need from your clients once they've paid and signed up, that you get all the key information from them. So next up, we're going to grab our intake form link. And what I recommend is using Tally, not Google Forms, because it's super clunky and doesn't look great. Tally again can be completely custom branded, so it looks really, really professional. And it can be embedded here as well. So what we can do is a number of different options here. You can't really embed the form as neatly. You can do it if you want to, and it'll pop up like this. So again, it looks really professional. Sometimes functionality on phones and things like that can be a little bit off. So if you wanted to, you can include it like this and it'll look really good. And again, we'll just upload or update that heading to make sure that it is looking good. We can change the color again. Let's make it gray. So now you've got these nice, neat boxes. I'm going to go for that. So welcome video from Henry, gray background, inside a nice, neat box. Same with the intake form, an embedded tally form. Now, as you can see, the branding can also be reflected with my own branding here. I can put all the key details that I need to include from that client. The buttons can be custom branded again. Looks much, much more neat than if you're trying to do this with something like Google Forms. Now, another thing you can do here is just to embed this as a mention or a bookmark. So I'll show you the difference. If you did this as a bookmark, you'd essentially just have that instead. So your call, whichever you prefer. The benefit with this is it just takes you directly to the link, and it's kind of a little bit neater to do it with the URL itself. If you prefer to have it actually on the page itself, then you can embed it as well. So this is the cool thing with Notion. You can embed all these different elements really, really easily. So now we've got video, we've got our intake form. Step 3, what I would recommend then doing is another call out block. And this time it's going to be a link to our Kickstart call. Now, again, we can embed a link here. We're just going to call this Kickstart call. And cool thing again is we can embed our call booking link. So you can see how sort of simple and intuitive this whole process is. So what I've done here is just save those links at the bottom just for ease here, so you can add them in nice and quickly. The one thing you might notice here is, though, if you do try and embed them, then you can move the spacing around a little bit. The only thing sometimes is with things like Calendly, or in this case, cal.com, which I also recommend because it can be branded and you can have lots of different call types on the free plan, is the functionality sometimes can be a little bit tricky. So you can either take this option and embed them if you like that functionality where you can see it all. You might prefer it to be a bit neater and just have the bookmarks instead. They click away, fill in the form. When they fill in the form, we can set up automations to send them a link to the Kickstart call. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. I probably recommend for most people just having the link itself as opposed to the embedding, but just to show you what's possible with all of this. So then we've got our Kickstart call. Let's turn that into heading 3 again. And we'll make that a phone emoji. And just to show you what I mean about that kind of highlighting this top block, let's say you want to turn this into a blue block instead. It would kind of highlight it as like a feature block at the top where you've got your welcome video. That's one option. Alternatively, you could just keep them all the same color. You could have them all white, in which case it would just give it like a neat background of white and then a simple border. A few different ways we can do this essentially. So we've got a welcome video, we've got our intake form, we've got our Kickstart call. The last section I would recommend then is another call out block, which is just called support. And in this section here, I don't have a sort of template because what support you offer in your program is going to depend heavily on, how you work and what your offer is. But if we do this little handshake support, let's call it support for you on the program. What we could include here is you get X, Y, Z, and you could include on a weekly basis, you get a check-in form, you get calls with me every month, you get sort of daily support from me via the app that we use. Whatever support that you include typically, that's where you would put it at the bottom. Now, just to finish that section off, what we can do again is just turn that to a heading 3. And then we've got, let's change that again, gray background. You've got all of these blocks nice and neatly laid out. So when you're a client, you land on this page and you've got everything you need. You've got a really professional welcome video. We've got the intake form. We've got the Kickstart call. We've got how you get support. So it's crystal clear for you as the client then what happens next. And that's exactly what you want to do to set the tone for the whole coaching experience. One final thing to mention with this onboarding page is if you want to basically share this as a public page so that you're not having to add people each time manually and then remove them manually, which obviously is an extra headache and it means you can't automate this onboarding process, is basically to make this as a public page. Now, it does mean it can obviously be shared around, but on balance, the fact that it can just be sent, they can get redirected to it and they've got instant access, to me far outweighs any potential sort of issues around sharing the page. So just to quickly how to do that is go to the top right where it says share, and then we can go to publish. Now, to go back a step, if we wanted to, we could manually add guests essentially as clients so they can then access the page. But what you really want to do is once the payment's gone through, you want to be able to send a link so they can just go to the page rather than us then having to manually go in and add people to the different pages, because ultimately they're not getting access to a great deal other than just sort of key steps and what happens next, which they're not getting any coaching from you. So if someone were to access the page on balance, for me, that's probably worth the automation and time savings rather than having to manually add people. So that's just my take. If you prefer it, you can add people manually by putting their email address in and inviting them. Or if you take the publish route, you can publish it as a page online, click on publish, and go to here. And what you just want to do is make sure that the page here by default can look a bit naff. It's usually got a couple of random words chucked in there. And obviously you want to set a professional tone. So we just want to make sure we update this here. So we just go along and update the domain name to something that's really professional. So we could change this instead from like Coach Flow Hub, that could become, let's say like the client experience hub, kind of whatever you want, or members hub. Just change it and save it there. So that is the final bit around sort of sharing it and making it public so that you can redirect people to this link really, really easily. To take this up a notch, you can automate all of this, and that's what I specialize in doing. And what you can do is that once a payment comes through, the client's going to receive a welcome email that directs them to this page. So you could have it as a redirect from a note from a payment link in Stripe that they get redirected immediately to this page. Or you could set it up to have an automation that they get an email sent straight away to them or a text with a link to this onboarding page. They then read all the information and consume it. They complete their intake form next. When they complete their intake form, they get a notification to say, thank you for completing that. Please book your Kickstart call. And they get that instantly as soon as they've completed the intake call. And as soon as they've completed their Kickstart call booking, they also get reminders sent via Cal or Calendly, whichever platform you want to use. And a reminder for kind of what happens next in the next 7 days. Now you can add as much or as little to this page as you want, but for me, the key thing is to give simple information to begin with, because clients don't want to be overwhelmed with where do I find all the information, what happens next. You don't want to have like 7 different steps. For me, you just want to have, this is what happens next. Here's what to expect. Here's how you complete your form, book your call first, and then here's how you get support. Because ultimately on that Kickstart call, you're going to explain all this stuff anyway. So you don't want to kind of overwhelm them with information about the program. You just want to give them clear steps from implementation, and they feel like they've had a really professional, welcoming, and automated onboarding process. So I hope that's been useful. And as I say, if you would like my help around creating client onboarding experiences, please get in touch. This is what I do with clients on a week to week. Now, you might also like a video where I've kind of broken down the automation aspects of all of this and how the onboarding page sits within the broader onboarding system. So if you'd like that, I'll pop the link down below, and hopefully that will also be valuable for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if this type of content is really, really valuable for you, and I'll hope to see you very soon.